and welcome to Creatives Processing, where creatives reveal their process and process what it means to create. My name is Sarah Mulligan Williams, and this episode features highlights from my conversation with filmmaker Alicia J. She's creating Menopunks, a documentary challenging decades of medical misinformation about menopause. But what struck me the most was her approach to creative development. She lets the initial idea be crucial, but doesn't grip it so tightly that she misses what the work is trying to become. That flexibility, that's not just good documentary practice, that's good creative practice, period. Coming up, 3 highlights on how her documentary evolved when she realized the stakes were higher than she understood, building creative community and support systems, and why empathy is a creative superpower, not a weakness. Between each clip, some reflections on how Alicia's perspective resonates with my own work. Let's start with how Alicia's documentary evolved. Menopunks being such a personal documentary subject, how did your approach, because I'm hearing, you're doing interviews. Through the interviews, it's helping shape the thesis and the direction that this yet unfinished documentary is going in. Can you talk a little bit about your approach to research and developing a thesis for a documentary as it's being crafted?
Well, I mean, this is my first proper documentary. I've made tons of other work, a lot of short docs.
How about like, how it relates to commercial work too? Like, is there a difference between how you would approach preparing and researching and creating a commercial project versus this documentary? And like, what's the crossover between them?
Certainly. I think the crossover between both is storytelling, right? Like for me, the commercial work I do, typically I'm looking to create an emotional response, right? And I try to stick with clients for the most part that have a good result. The difference between even narrative filmmaking and documentary from commercial is that good stories really are about high stakes. And so for me, setting up the stakes about creative process and the world around us is really what it's all about. And honestly, these are not difficult questions to ask. I just can't believe that we have been like hoodwinked for this long, right? So I mean, the process is like, first of all, for I think any creative project for me is having the initial kernel of the idea is crucial, but then not being so stubborn that you can't let it tell you what it wants to be along the way.
Yeah.
And I think with whether it's narrative film, maybe that's less prescriptive, but documentary, certainly all of my short docs and definitely this doc. I mean, and my producer Jackie talks about this with documentary filmmaking. You have to be flexible. You have to be open to the story evolving, because the story is never going to be the same the day you decide to do it to the day you finish the film. The whole point of documentary filmmaking is to follow the story. So I did not think the stakes were as high as they are. I didn't understand that we had been cheated. I didn't understand that, according to Wolf, that this was the biggest misdirection in the history of women's health, that it was a criminal and immoral thing that happened to women for 23 years and continues to affect them. I didn't understand that. I don't think most women understand. I don't think most people understand that at all. I think that certain menopause activists and practitioners and some people know it and get it, but it is shrouded in so much confusion, and like it's all conflicting everywhere, and no one's been able to cut through that. And so, I mean, I know it probably seems like a bold, tall order, but like, it doesn't intimidate me. I'm hormonally optimized and radicalized, motherfuckers. And guess what? Like it's not just me, it's my whole community that's going to do it together.
Alicia walked into this project thinking she was making one kind of documentary, and she had the openness to let it become something so much more significant. When she realized the stakes were higher than she understood, this is exactly the kind of flexibility that makes creative work truly powerful. And I see this resistance so often. People get so attached to their first idea that they treat any evolution as a betrayal of their original vision. But the best creative work, the work that actually moves people, happens when we're open enough to follow where the story wants to go, even when it's scarier or more complex than we initially signed up for. Here's what I'm curious about for you. What if you approached your current project like Alicia approaches hers, with an initial vision as your starting point, but not your ending point? What would you notice if you gave yourself permission to let the work evolve? Alicia's approach to creative community building is just as intentional and strategic as her approach to filmmaking. So let's hear how she built the foundation for her creative success.
I always say this to every artist who's like, how do I get started here? And I was like, look, if you have a good idea, you will get help. If you have a nugget, if you have something that's like a good idea for a music video or even an album or a show, like people are there to support that. Like this is
I mean, I would
this is our
argue though, like part of that too is like if you have a good idea, yes, people will help, but like having that foundation of a community is a
oh god.
prerequisite for that support.
Well, that is something I built, right?
Yeah.
Because I have a ton of goodwill here after booking shows and running a distribution company and being in a band, and I make friends, and I just love a lot of people that love me. I mean, I'm part of this. I've chosen to make my life here as an artist, which as a filmmaker is a bold choice because really to be successful as a filmmaker, you're expected to go to New York or LA, and it still happens all the time with people here. But I grew up in LA, so I have a very different point of view. I
Yeah.
believe that really for me, true success is being able to create and then have it come to you. So if I do this right with Menopunks, this will hopefully create, a vehicle for the rest of my career to blossom, right? And the
Mhm.
rest of other people's careers to blossom too. So we can bring us all up together in this
Yeah.
community and ideally, hopefully create, an empire, why not? That
Yeah.
that create like a real focused channel for books and and comics and music and film and other projects, other people's projects. Like why aren't we being spoken to the way we like to hear? Do you know what I mean? But what really success to me looks like community. Success to me is being able to like call upon my peers, like with Menopunks, and have them not only say yes, but stand behind me holding the fucking banner. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like success is having like 30 years of respect from people who know me or who even don't know me, who see me.
If you have a good idea, you will get help. But here's what Alicia knows that a lot of people miss. That support doesn't just happen. She built that foundation of goodwill through years of booking shows, running a distribution company, being in a band, genuinely investing in other people's success. This is why I don't call it networking. Like, I had to mentally reframe it into relationship or community building because networking sounds so icky. Because what she's describing isn't transactional networking, it's genuinely contributing value to your creative community long before you need anything back. What I love about Alicia's approach is she's redefining success on her own terms. She could have followed the traditional filmmaker path to New York or LA, but she chose to build something different in Portland. And that especially resonates with me because I moved away from my hometown of New York City, one of the biggest hubs to pursue a professional life, but I wanted to do my creative career on my own terms and at my own speed. And I feel so fortunate to continue to have that community in New York and to have put down roots in Portland and now Oakland as well. I think there's something really powerful about choosing where and how you want to build your creative career, rather than feeling like you have to follow the prescribed path to wherever the industry tells you success lives. For me, volunteering with Creative Mornings Oakland has been such a beautiful example of this. Creative Mornings has given me so much throughout my career, and it was an easy way to give back and build community in a new place at the same time. Think about this. How are you investing in your creative community now before you need their support? What would change if you approached your creative career as building an ecosystem rather than climbing a ladder? Our final highlight with Alicia gets to the heart of why creative sensitivity isn't a weakness, but such a strong professional and personal asset.
I think creative people are the most sensitive out there. We are empathy. Like you cannot be a good artist unless you are a reflection of the society and the communities that are around you. That is what art is. Art is our interpretation of what's right in front of us, but through a filter that gives it a different perspective. So being
Yes.
that sensitive, whether it's dysphoria or a gift, I wouldn't want it any other way because I'm able to be a steward for that kind of feeling and emotion and to help artists manifest their own dreams, right? Through photography and video to help cohese their own visions through my vision. Like that's interesting to me. Like that's super fun. And I couldn't do that if I wasn't truly empathetic,
That was something that uh, I had to lean into over time. I remember like early on in my career, What I saw as strength was, no vulnerabilities. That
Oh my
people
God,
pleasing and
exactly.
that perfectionist side of me, no matter what curveball you threw at me, I was able to meet it with just like a stone face, just like, got it. I'm tough. I got it. And then, you go to the bathroom and you cry.
Mm.
You can't show that weakness.
Mm.
And over time, it became like, no, like the empathy, like I'm disguising my truest self here. I feel
Mm.
so much, and being able to connect with people about how hard this is and how challenging it can be, like that is a strength. The vulnerability is a strength. It's not a weakness.
Right, but like, haven't we been trained to try to think that it is? And how interesting and ironic that they're using that right now to try to pick on us. It's going to come back to fucking bite them. I'll tell you what, because
Hmm.
we are going to rise and we're going to show them how it's fucking done. It's just a matter of time. It's not if.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's,
dualities. Like we can be soft and we can be strong. Like we don't have to be either. We
well,
are both.
the fact is, like, your vulnerability makes you so much stronger
Yes,
because you can represent
absolutely.
so much more in the art that you make.
Damn, this one hits me so personally because it's something I really had to lean into over time. Like, I remember really early on in my career, what I saw as strength was zero vulnerabilities. That people pleasing perfectionist side of me. I was the first person in, the last person out. I spent years in magazine publishing, and I refused to ever be the person that stopped the machine from running. So I made sure my processes were flawless, especially when the art department was the last in the production chain. When the editor was done, copy was done, boom, it was moving. No matter what curveball you threw at me, I met it with a stone face. Like, I got it, I'm tough, I got it. And then you go into the bathroom and cry because you're exhausted and burnt out and you can't show that weakness. But over time, I realized I was disguising my truest self. I feel so much, and being able to connect with people about how hard this can be, how challenging it is, that vulnerability, that's my strength. It's not a weakness. And like what Alicia understands is that empathy isn't just helpful for creative work, it's essential. But it's not just about feeling everything, it's about being a steward for those feelings, using that sensitivity to help manifest others' visions, to create work that really resonates. And that sensitivity that sometimes feels overwhelming, that's actually what allows you to see the nuances that others miss, to anticipate what people need before they even know they need it. Create work that feels like it was specifically made for each person who encounters it. This conversation with Alicia reminded me of what I'm so passionate about: working with creative professionals who want to build sustainable, values-aligned careers without compromising what makes their work special in the first place. Alicia's built a creative career that doesn't require her to choose between artistic integrity and professional success. She's found a way to let her work evolve naturally while still being strategic about building the support systems and community connections that make her ambitious projects possible. That balance between flexibility and intentionality, sensitivity and professional boundaries, serving your vision and serving your audience, that's what sustainable creative careers are built upon. The full conversation with Alicia goes much deeper into her documentary process, the specifics of what she's uncovered about menopause and medical misinformation, and how she's navigating the business side of independent filmmaking. You can find that full episode in the show notes, as well as links to Alicia's work, how to follow Creatives Processing, and info about me and my creative studio, Word of Mouth. Thank you so much for listening to Creatives Processing. Till next time, stay human and stay curious. Bye!